It is the morning of our last full day here in Rome. Tomorrow we leave. Our plane's at 10:10, so we're pretty much just getting up and going to the airport. But we have the Vatican today and then another museum, and then kind of whatever we want to do this evening. I wanted to show you something interesting though. Apparently you can houseboat on the Tiber. I mean, that's someone's house as a boat. Looks kind of nice actually. I think that'd be kind of fun to live on. I see other boats over there. I was mentioning earlier in an earlier video that I didn't see a lot of like river traffic here, but you know, there are boats. We just haven't really seen anybody using them.
I'm not sure that floats. It doesn't like move on the water. It floats.
Oh no, I don't think it goes anywhere. I think it's essentially stable. So it's a boat that is a house, but I don't think it actually boats anywhere. I was mentioning in a previous video how we haven't seen a lot of green spaces. There are a lot of like squares, public squares, but they're all like concrete and marble and all usual building materials. It's not green spaces. I'm not saying there aren't any trees, it's just like parks. So here's one. I think we're gonna walk by another one too that's kind of star-shaped. We specifically chose this route. It's gonna take an extra minute, but we specifically chose it because we wanted to go by what looked like an interesting park on the map. As is the custom, we started with 2 cappuccinos and some kind of pastry. This looks like a chocolate croissant of some kind.
Cornetto.
Yeah, cornetto is what they're called here. They're essentially croissants, cones. This looks pretty good. We're gonna be split into multiple groups, but I'm in group 3 and there's a group 2 here, but look at all these people. And there was a group 4. It's just lots and lots of people. When we were first driving in, the cab driver pointed out the Vatican and how you can tell because it has this kinds of bricks. Now you can see this brick in lots of different places, but for us, walking around, these kind of thin bricks have always indicated that we were near the Vatican. And you can kind of see ahead how it's all built up. They have that same kind of wall, and then above it is something. I'm not actually sure if that's the Vatican or not. We're about to find out. But the Vatican is an entirely different country, completely surrounded by Rome. Obviously, it's the head of the Catholic Church. It's where the Pope resides. We heard a story yesterday. Michelangelo had a huge ego. Now, thankfully, he could back it up with actual talent. But one time, he went to the Pope, and of course everybody, we're walking really fast, so I'm a little out of breath. Everybody kneels before the Pope, right? Well, he didn't. And the Pope asked him why, and he said, well, after you, there'll be another Pope, and after that, there'll be another Pope, and so on. And he said, there'll never be another me, there'll never be another Michelangelo. Wow, that is gutsy, because that kind of stuff would normally get you killed. If you talk back to the Pope like that, you get burned in the square. This is the reason why it's worth it to do skip the line stuff, because we are skipping this line. Because you can just come here and buy tickets and go in, but I think it's worth a little extra, not only to skip the line, but also to get some tour and some context from people who've been doing it. The tours we've had in Rome have been freaking amazing. Everybody has been incredibly knowledgeable. A lot of them have been art historians, and they're able to answer questions, give us context, really tell us a lot about like the paintings and the sculptures and the histories. It's been pretty amazing. I think I've mentioned this in other videos, but I grew up Catholic, although I'm not particularly religious right now, but I do enjoy good architecture and history, and so I've been looking forward to coming to the Vatican for a long time. I remember reading about it in an encyclopedia. Yes, I was one of those kids who read encyclopedias when I was growing up. My aunt had an old encyclopedia set from the late 60s, and I would read it, and I remember reading about the Vatican City, and I've always wanted to come here. And now here I am. Took me a long time, but I did it. We're not even in yet, but we're standing in line, which is cool. Check out the Museum Vaticani. That's a pretty cool door. You know, sometimes people forget because churches are so open now and people can go in and walk around and stuff that there was a time when the churches were security and safety. If you had a church in your town, there's like a basilica that the whole town would get into when your town was being raided. So they were fortresses, not just churches. And this is just a good example of that. This is a fortress. This is different than the other headphones we've been using. Oops, get my hand in there. It sticks on your ear and it just sits there. There's a little ear hook on it. That's cool. Here is a model of the Vatican, world's smallest country. Wow. That's pretty cool. We'll go around.
Considered British soldiers at the time, and somehow it's been like that since. Was that you asking me about these are the builders were I think
Vatican was established as a country 94 years ago.
These are 2 blocks of buildings, linked about 2 long corridors. So
So gorgeous. There's a painting gallery in there. I'm not sure. I don't think that's part of the tour, but maybe we can go later since we have the tickets already. Not everything's in the tour, but usually you can stay around and do other things. I love this big open area. Green space down there. Definitely many levels here. We're here, of course. Incredible. The dome was created by Michelangelo when he was in his 70s. Well, I should say he designed it. He didn't build it himself. And he wasn't alive by the time it was finished. I don't know if you can see this, but there's people in that area walking around. Little cage looking thing. Wow, that's amazing. I'm not sure if I could do more stairs, but we might try. Pine Cone Courtyard. Named. It's a fountain over there. And a pine cone, and what looks like peacocks. That's a cool turning globe over there, if that's what that is. I mean, it is a globe. I love the bird on top. Just riding along. Oh, maybe it's not turning. I think it was just an illusion.
The sailor stilts wrapped around a blinding light. It's like a star with planets orbiting, wrapping around. It's a very unusual picture. Just as close as a look at it. Looks like a very good looking young man.
It does move, but you have to push it. That's why it was moving, and then when I first saw it. Okay. Look, I swear it's not in the same position.
the body and the soul.
The body is the outside and the soul. And the person who created this has a last name that translates to tomato. You can just see this gallery, it's how long it is. It is very likely that these would have been painted at some point, and the paint has just worn away over the years. So we all have this idea that ancient Rome was filled with all these like white classic statues, but no, they were very colorfully painted. Occasionally a madman, that's the term he used, comes in and breaks one of the busts. And so a couple of these were missing until recently because they were being restored. It's the same thing with the famous Pietà by Michelangelo, the one that he did when he was younger. You can only see it from afar because someone came in with a hammer like 50 something years ago and shouting, "I am Jesus Christ," and started smashing it. So they had to reconstruct Mary's nose using parts of the marble in the back of Jesus's back that you wouldn't be able to see was missing. You would think that's Mary feeding Jesus, but it's actually Mother Earth. So Gaia feeding Saturn, essentially Zeus and his family's father. Wow. Look at this room. All this marble. This is an original 2nd century Roman mosaic. And I love these beautiful Corinthian columns. Oh. It's interesting because you see a lot of ladies with kids, but not as many like men with kids. And that's Dionysus in his arms. I wonder if he was already drunk. This is a mosaic of Odysseus, who's tied up over there so he could hear the siren song without being lured to it. And the rest of the sailors had beeswax in their ears so they wouldn't hear it to be lured. Roman Emperor Augustus. I really like how they used a different kind of marble to have the color on him. Different marble from different areas had different colors. Looks like they combined two here, which is pretty cool. This isn't anybody in particular, it's just head of a youth. So this is the Nile River personified as a person. You can see crocodile. In addition to color, they would sometimes do glass eyes to make them look more realistic. You can decide if they're more realistic or just creepy. Gorgeous view outside the window. an octagonal courtyard. With a fountain. I did not know until today that sarcophagus means flesh eater. I've known the word sarcophagus forever, mostly from playing Dungeons and Dragons. I learned a lot of words from that, but it means flesh eater, literally translated. This courtyard is incredible. This was the dude who said, "Beware Romans bearing gifts." That didn't work out well for them. Nobody listened. Wow. This whole room full of like animal sculptures. It looked like we're not going in there, but hi, horsey. Oh, cow and a calf. Wow. This looks familiar. It's pretty much the Pantheon that we saw a few days ago. The audio's cutting in and out, so I don't know if this is the exact same size or if it's just a like smaller ratio copy. Ooh, that's gotta be Hercules. He has the club and then Nemean lion, or Nemean lion. This is a cool basin, but wow, look at this floor. I wonder if the basin is meant to catch the rain. I mean, that is closed off as opposed to the one in the actual Pantheon. But if it's open, I wonder if that's meant to catch that. But I'm more interested in the floor. Beautiful tomb. Constantine's daughter. Wow. This is beautiful. I think he said it was called Minerva and the Phases of the Moon. You can see them around the edge. It's gorgeous. This is cool. A stele. Another word I learned from Dungeons and Dragons. Oil lamps, some of them hanging, so you could have light when the sun wasn't up. Look, the ceiling over the stairs. Women died in childbirth a lot around this time, and so a lot of them worship fertility goddesses, like that one with very many sagging breasts full of milk. That's nice. You can just see the press of people. Like, you can't really stop and enjoy anything. You just have to move with the crowd. There's art everywhere. The floor, the ceilings, the walls, the statues. Like that blue, very vibrant. Oh, that's gorgeous.
Con la testa floca, con la rodilla.
You'll see how crazy it is. This is behind me. Tapestries. I mean, I love paintings, but tapestry is another level too. And of course, the ceiling is still gorgeous.
저분이 우르반 8세라는 교황님이에요. 이 방을 만들 수 있도록 돈 주신 후원자세요.
Christ looks startled there.
라파엘로 입장에서 고맙죠? 그럼 뭘 준다고요? 커미션을 줘서 그분의 일대기를 옆에다가 한번 넣어주세요. 이거 우리가 중요한 게 아니에요. 예전에는 예수 그리스도의 일생 중에 아기 예수를 한잔을 했었어요. 예언가들이
Some octagonal flowing structures, such as the one with the stick out, but the new frames are
Wow.
flat.
Our guide was pointing out how that looks like it sticks out, like it's 3D, the octagonal frame, but it's really just two-dimensional, painted to look three-dimensional. This tapestry has great optical illusions where Jesus' eyes will follow you and the stone at his feet will also move along. Let's see. Huh. That's cool. We're in the Gallery of the Maps. Again, beautiful ceiling. I love old maps. The ceiling is stunning. Also, how long this is. Sardinia. Of Corsica. I wonder how completely accurate these are. You know how old maps are. I'm not saying they are or they aren't. I'm just saying you know how old maps are. And boy, is it raining outside. Look at that. Like some little inlays of different cities or towns. Feel free to pause on any of these. I will later too, because we don't have time to stop and look at them. I would spend a lot of time in this room if I could. Italia Nova, New Italy. Wow. It's beautiful. And recognizable. And then old Italy. Italia Antiqua. Look at the size of this thing.
The Turkish army visited Galleria in 1683.
Another really large. This whole room is just one big painting. I mean, multiples, but that's gorgeous. Just kind of went around back into this room. It's a better view of the whole picture, and you can see the size of it compared to the people. Even the exits have a grandeur about them. Look at this. The Vatican did not know how to do subtle, and we all benefit from that. This is an amazing corridor, honestly. It's so cool. This is an optical illusion. It's not as long as it seems. And I guess he said this was Bernini that did this. Wow. The Vatican is protected by the Swiss Guard. I'll show you one of their very colorful outfits.
Actually, the
biggest church.
Here we are in St. Peter's Square in San Pietro, Piazza di San Pietro. I don't know if you remember from one of our first days, we were over there on the e-bikes on the other side of this obelisk where a lot of those people are. You can see that there were a lot of chairs. This is the church. People will come out. They have these big screens. We thought about coming for Mass and sent an email, but didn't ever get a response, so we ended up not doing it. I think you can just show up, but if you do an email and get a reservation or whatever they call it, then you actually get a seat. But it was okay. We did plenty. We're in the Basilica now, the church, and there it is, the Pietà. It's too bad that it's behind bulletproof glass, but about as close as I can be right now. Look at the folds. One of the things unusual is, like, I mean, look how big Mary is compared to Jesus, right? She's just a huge figure. An incredible piece. And this is the one that was made when Michelangelo was a 20-something years old. And, you know, of course, when Jesus died, Mary would have been in her 50s. But she still looks youthful in this. And Michelangelo's response to that is that purity has no age. You know, she'll always be ageless. Incredible. Well, here we are in the Basilica. Whew, that was a whirlwind. But it is amazing how much art, architecture, history, religion, it just all comes together here. Our guide was saying that, so Mussolini is the one who pretty much gave the Vatican sort of their own countryhood. And he says he thinks it's a mistake because now they have control over all these art pieces and such, and Italy has no say over them anymore. They essentially belong to a different country. And so he didn't think that was great because it should be, you know, belong to Italy, not the Vatican. I'm not sure I had an opinion on that until I'm not really sure what it is. I get what he's saying, and I don't disagree with it, but I'm also a dilettante. I'd never thought about it until now, so having an opinion seems not, well, it seems presumptuous, right? They're not my artifacts, they're not my things. I'm not Italian, but if I was an Italian, I might be mad about that. I mean, in every alcove, almost every wall, like there's this big, like what looks like concrete. I'm sure it's probably not, I don't know, but it's not decorated, but it does have those sort of like rounded stripes. So that is a type of decoration. And as I get closer to it, I think it's marble, not concrete. It just has that color. Ooh, heard a ringing. I wonder if something's gonna happen. And then it sounded like an organ, but nothing followed it. And I've completely lost Josh, but I'm sure we'll find each other soon enough. And of course the floor is all marble, with different kinds of marble to make decorations. That's pretty cool over there. Oh, I hear music. I think somebody's singing. I'm gonna go check that out. There's a nun over there singing.
Pregate perché il mio e vostro sacrificio sia gradito a Dio Padre Onnipotente. Guarda, Signore, i doni che ti presentiamo nella memoria di Sant'Atanasio.
Oh man.
E concedi anche a noi di professare
I've seen Mass in
senza
English, I've seen it in
compromesso
Spanish.
la verità della fede.
I've never seen it in
Per
Italian.
ricevere la salvezza grazie al Signore nostro.
Oh, so amazing. That over there too. I'm not sure if you can see the skeletal figure in there that's holding the hourglass up at the top in its hand.
E gloria per tutti I secoli dei secoli. Precepti salutaribus moniti e divina istituzione formati audemus e dicere.
I mentioned before that I'm not a particularly religious person, but the ceremony of religion, oh, sorry, I'll show you what I was just got caught by in just a second, intrigues me. Like the whole ceremony, the singing, the repetition, something about it is interesting to me. I can't put my finger on it, but it attracts my attention to watch even for a little bit. This is what I was intrigued by, or distracted by when I was trying to talk. It's this grate on the floor. There's a bunch of money in it. I think there's water in there. I can't tell. I'm trying to figure out how to get out of here. How do we get out of this country? But this is pretty. We only saw this at night before, and it's actually very impressive at night. If you go watch that video from a few days ago, I think it was Sunday. It's Thursday now. It's been kind of a whirlwind. The only reason I knew what day it was is because I knew we had certain things on certain days, but otherwise when I'm on vacation, I completely lose track of it. I think there might be an exit over there. But it's a lot more crowded now, obviously. We have found more green space. Oh, another water fountain. That one's just free flowing. Interesting.
Back in Rome, they did that, remember?
Oh yeah, that's right. There's free flowing. It's Florence that had the push buttons. Another obelisk. In case you haven't seen one in like 5 minutes. Anyway, this is nice because you have a lot of green space over there, kind of in this middle walkway. And then we're over here where there's more. This is close to the Borgia Gallery, not Borgia, Borghese Gallery. Borgheses were important people. If I remember correctly, they were kind of like the Medicis or Medici family, but for Rome, but I could have my history wrong there. But yeah, this is pretty cool. Oh, there's two obelisks. There's one here and one across the street. All right, a review of the Vatican. It's very impressive. The tour is very rushed.
Problematic.
Yeah. There are things that our guide could control, and there are things that they couldn't, right? Like, they can't control the fact that the Vatican will essentially rush you through it. Like, you just have to keep moving, have to keep moving, have to keep moving. There are some areas where you can stop, but there's a lot of areas where it's just a press of people moving forward, and you have to stay with them.
Move more than a step at a time, literally.
And so you never really have a chance to stop and enjoy anything if you're in certain areas. Plus, to help traffic flow, our guide was saying that they will change the route on occasion, so you might end up going like over and around rather than through.
Direct route, yeah.
And so
that affects everything as well.
yeah, or what are you missing in that point? But what are you seeing also? So it's hard to tell since we've only been there the one time.
It's mixed.
And then of course the Sistine Chapel. So he was telling a story. This is interesting. You can't take any video
We need to confirm this, 'cause
in
I'm
there.
Curious.
Yeah, I want to find out about this. So apparently Fuji, the Japanese like Fujifilm and stuff, they had paid for a restoration.
Like 30 years ago or something? Or was it
I don't remember how long ago it was, but they paid for a restoration of it. And one of the reasons then they don't allow it is because now it's like copyrighted by them. I don't know if that was the deal that
Might
they
be a
did,
European sort of thing.
but
It's weird. It's
yeah,
bad.
it is strange
When you're like,
because,
what's
and
the
all the
reason?
signs say, you know, because it's a holy place, you shouldn't video. We've videoed in every other holy place
Every
we've been
other
in.
single one in
You can
here
video
and
in the
Florence.
Duomo.
Yeah, no problems, no
Yeah.
issues, no questions.
You can video in the Basilica, the actual church,
But no.
but
not
somehow
in
or
the
another you
Sistine
can't in the
Chapel.
Sistine Chapel. So
Seems
it's
sketch.
weird. And so anyway, we don't know if that's true or not. It's just kind of what he had alluded to. In any case, I mean, it's still nice to see, right? Like, you don't need to watch my video to see videos of the Sistine
No.
Chapel. You can find much better videos, close-ups,
great-
that kind of thing.
Great, I'm sure, digital versions that are super high quality, but that's not the same thing.
Yeah, so it's nice to sit there and enjoy. And I do that. Even though I'm videoing, I do stop and enjoy it off camera. So it's nice to do that, but I could have done both.
Yeah. Like,
So, go ahead, Josh.
it's one of those words like, are you trying to use the control traffic? No, because he's forcing people through certain parts anyway and don't block here and don't stop there. So you're like, doesn't seem to be a traffic issue. Doesn't seem to be a
Yeah.
legitimate issue of religion.
We stopped by that stand over there, got a sandwich. This looks great, €10, and that's gonna be perfect for us. It comes with these chips, which are warm and they're good too. I also wanted to point out something that we've been really impressed with here. Good design. So you unscrew the top of your soda, and rather than the lid coming off, there's this sort of extra part that's thicker. So it just holds it. So you don't have a bunch of like caps lying around anywhere. I think this is a really cool design. And it helps, I think, with trash because it keeps it all together. Now you can pull it off. Like if you pull hard enough, you absolutely can. But otherwise it holds itself.
Yeah, let's just do it right here.
Well, that sandwich was very disappointing. It looked good, but it's very disappointing. It just tasted like nothing. The main flavor on that was the lettuce. That's what I still taste in my mouth now. But the bread looked great, but didn't have a flavor. Even the tomatoes didn't have a flavor, and the salami, just everything was flavors.
It's
It
one of
really,
those, it looks good.
Yeah.
But flavor-wise,
it really needed a sauce.
Which is odd because our sandwiches here in Rome have been amazing.
Yeah, that's the only sandwich
Not
we've
just
had.
good, like
Yeah,
amazing level.
amazing. Yeah, great to amazing.
Yeah,
This one was
seriously.
like subpar. It just tasted like nothing. I mean,
Maybe that's because it's where it is and they wanted to make something the least offensive possible. I get that. But it's also the most expensive sandwich I think we paid for.
it fit the bill. Like it was a
It was
food.
food.
It was a food, and it is doing what it's supposed to. But it definitely could have been better. It could have been any
Mayonnaise.
better. Yeah,
Mayonnaise
even just
would have made it
mayonnaise would have made it
Mustard
better.
would have made it better. Mind
Yeah.
you, that's probably what I would have tasted then, but at least it would have
Yeah.
had flavor.
Yeah. Cool. This is a nice little fountain in the green space. They're hippocampuses, so they have the front part of a horse and kind of the back part of the fish. If you see that, it's in shade, so it's like fishy tails. And it's a very Neptunian kind of design. Ooh, is that a crow over there sitting on top of that? Yeah, kind of cool. Well, a lot of it's covered in scrim, but this is the Borghese Gallery. Josh is really interested in coming here, and I'm looking forward to it too. I'm not sure what's in there. I know there's some Caravaggio stuff. Josh is the arty guy, so I just kind of follow him and look at the things. I enjoy art, but I don't know a lot about it or where things are. We did a skip the line tour, or ticket, because it's not a tour, it's just a ticket. They met us here, gave us a ticket, but we probably didn't really need to do that. We paid a little bit extra for skip the line, but not that much, so it's not that disappointing. So join us in the gallery. Let's go take a look. Well, actually, we are kind of skipping a line because there's last minute tickets. It just wasn't very long of a line, but hey, it was a benefit. So, in case you're wondering who the Borghese of Galleria Borghese is, there he is. And so, the gallery wished to remember this extraordinary protagonist of the history of the Catholic Church, creating a path that indicates the works connected to the figure of Paul V. Well, here we are in this beautiful gallery. I think those are putti, which are like the little cherubs. They're called putti. We'll check out the ceiling in just a minute, but you can see some of the statuary. And then this is a very famous piece right here. I'll get closer to it in just a second, but I love how you have those hexagonal kinds of designs. You have this, which I think is a mosaic. Oh my goodness, it is, look. Those are tiny little tile pieces. And then of course, the gorgeous ceilings. These busts are pretty incredible too. And the faces are so good that my camera thinks they're people, right? Like it puts the yellow box on their faces like, hey, there's a face there. Wow, that's nice. I really like how, I mentioned this earlier, but I really like how they use different marble for like clothing to give it some color without having to actually paint it. And I kind of like these better than the actual like white marble, right? Like, I don't know, somehow or another there's more character. It's an opinion, of course. There's the name of the statue. I don't want to say it because it's a family channel, but it's the unwanted attention of Persephone. There's some really incredible details, of course. So the way that the hands press into the flesh. There, look at that. I mean, that's all marble, but you'd swear that was like living flesh. Same thing there, where you can see kind of the folds between his fingers, his lower two fingers there. These are the folds of skin as he presses against her. And of course, this is Hades. And the three-headed dog, of course, Cerberus, or Cerberus, depending on which you, or what name you prefer. Oh yeah, he's the two-pronged fork. I forget, there's a term for that, like a duodent. I don't remember what it's called, but he is not a trident. He's two prongs that's associated with Hades. I always figured Cerberus would be a lot bigger than that if he's supposed to like protect the underworld, or I should say keep people from leaving it. Look at the kind of difference in textures of the dog, for example. He's more liney, like sort of horizontal lining, not perfectly horizontal, but you can kind of see the fur. And then look at the bodies, how it's a lot more smooth, as opposed to the cloth, which also has a little bit more texture to it. I mean, imagine doing that. I mean, this is marble, but that cloth is freaking amazing. And of course the hair. And you can see just a little, this is interesting, you see just a little bit of like hair in his underarms, I think. I don't know if that's just another piece, but wow. On this side, you can also see hair under the arms there. And of course, you know, down in this area. And then there's a better look at the two prongs. I wish I could remember the name. I think Josh is looking up right now, but I'm mad at myself that I don't remember. But also look at the muscles. Look at the veins in the foot, the way he's standing, the way he's holding her, so his kind of like hip muscles are sort of protruding. I can't imagine the kind of talent it would take to do this. All right, I looked at it. It's a bident, just like you would think, right? Trident, bident. And a single one, of course, is called a spear, not a unident. Wow, I am very impressed by this. It is busy here, but not like it was at the Vatican. This feels practically deserted, but you know, it's the Vatican. Another statue. The placard is on the other side. We'll take a look at that in a second. Also check out the ceiling again. That's amazing. That's like just a big painting that's on the ceiling. It doesn't even look like a fresco. It's like they stuck a painting up there, but I'm pretty sure it's a fresco. Frescoes, by the way, mean that they painted into the wet plaster. Like you can't just take it with you like you could a painting. Okay, here it is. It's another Bernini. I have no idea what's going on here. I'm sure there's a story behind it. I just don't recognize those names. Aeneas sounds familiar. I also love how you can just look out a random, I mean this is a door, but you can look out a random window of a door and there's this gorgeous gardens with statuary. You can see some statues over there. Dude, look at the columns there, the kind of faces on them. And I can't tell what's on the top from here. They almost look like pine cones. But yeah, I mean that's just outside, a little fountain. And then there it is on the floor there. I don't have this kind of patience, so I admire anybody who can do something like this and then make it actually look like something. And it's not just the face, right? Like look around it. They had to do all those little individual pieces for just the quote-unquote frame. It's not really a frame, but it is a frame. You are framing it. Here's a Caravaggio piece. Actually, it's Bacchus, and it's done as a self-portrait as Bacchus, which is interesting. But those are great. How there's just like the little light, you know, the reflection of the light, and then just a little dot. It just makes them look so real. Like they look good. Like those ones specifically. Look at that. Those look great.
Extreme lights and darks.
You may have heard this term before. It's chiaroscuro shading, where it's extreme lights and darks. Josh was just describing it. But this is another David and Goliath. I say another because we saw David yesterday in Florence. But yeah, he's more of a youth here, and he's holding the head of a giant, which, you know, this giant's not like 30 feet tall kind of giant, right? Like he's probably like 10 feet, 15 feet. The head's not that much bigger than an average person, but it is bigger. So here's one here. I'm not really sure what that means. Is it a Caravaggio? Is it not? It looks like a different name. Anyway, it still has that same kind of light and dark style. This one's really big too. Like here's a chair that a person can sit in. And then like the thin round halos, as opposed to like, you know, giant bright circular, like more solid looking halos. But yeah, this whole room is just filled again. There's the piece we were just looking at. I'm not much of a still life person, but I love that fruit, the grapes, the apples. It's stunning. Well, you can immediately recognize them for what they're supposed to be. Even the imperfections in the leaves, like where you can see that some of them are, dying, being eaten away. This is another room full of statuary. But again, like many places, what's incredible is that. It's just like the Sistine Chapel, my goodness. You'd have to like be up on these high scaffoldings or like laying down and painting it like a scaffolding up that you're either laying down or standing up on. It'll be such hard work. These mosaics, and I'll show you another one too, were depicting like gladiatorial combat. And as we learned when we did the tour of the Colosseum, the gladiators only fought gladiators. They didn't fight animals. What would happen is slaves would fight animals, and they would put out like 50 people, 50 slaves, and 50 animals, and then it was essentially last person standing. But I think that's what we're seeing over here, right? Because you've got, that looks like a lion and a bull. There's an ostrich over there, some kind of like goat, maybe even like a wildebeest. That almost looks like a deer. And some what looks like defeated foes. No, actually, that one's trying to wrestle what looks like a cow. Very interesting and brutal. I like how you can see her sort of reaching back with her like 2 fingers to pull an arrow from the quiver. Obviously to put in her bow. Of course, she doesn't have the bow, but those kind of fiddly bits always got broken off. Like if you look real close, you can see that the fingers had probably fallen off at some point. And so those fiddly bits always break off at some point. Here's another Bernini, and this is David of David and Goliath. Clearly a favored subject of sculptors and artists too. But this one, he's a little bit more than a youth than the Michelangelo one. And you can see him holding the sling there, putting the stone in it. You can actually see the stone on there. You know, obviously facing his foe, ready to throw a sling at him. He's got his pouch here, which probably held the stones. There is what looks to be a harp on the ground. And that's like armor. You can see scale mail, yeah. Again, look at the musculature and how it's very well represented, especially if you're in that position, right? You know, you have your foot up. That means your calf is going to be a little bit more flexed. It's crazy how you can like see the chisel marks. And now it's a painting of David with the head of Goliath. That head's a lot bigger proportion than the one we saw earlier. And look at that sword he's holding, it's huge. The eyes of that dog in this painting look almost a little too human. Is it just me, or is it somewhat unsettling? There's also like a bird there. This woman, I appreciate the fact that there's some background there, like a little town, some people. Love the fabric. Another Bernini. This is Apollo and Daphne. And if I'm correct, based on the context, this is the one where she gets turned into a tree. So that's why you can see this sort of like bark pattern appearing here. And you can see her hands are turning into like leaves at the top. Yeah, he's chasing her and she prays to some goddess, I forget which one, to save her. And by save her, the goddess turns her into a tree. So, you know, Apollo can't go after her anymore. I'm not certain that's exactly what she wanted, but she did get saved. Yep. Look at those sandals. How there's a connector, and you could see, you know, somebody slipping on that sandal. But again, it's just in marble, so you just keep chiseling just a little bit more to get the foot in there, and underneath what looks like a strap. Like, just an amazing technique. I love the idea of a portable altar, right? Like if you were traveling and you were in some place that didn't have a church, maybe you were a missionary or something, you just bring an altar along and pray at it. And Josh was saying there's a pietà.
That's Mary and baby Jesus.
Oh, I see, in this area here. So that's, yeah, Mary and baby Jesus. And then her
pietà.
holding him.
That might be him in judgment up top.
Yeah, maybe his ascension.
It's one of those two.
It's ascension.
It might be his ascension, yeah. It's something.
Look at all these little figures. So here's pretty much the gardens we've been in this whole time. And then you can see here, like the Galleria Borghese is number 1. That's where we were. But there's a lot of stuff here. That looks like a giraffe. What the heck? 91. Bioparco. Does that mean it's a zoo? Like life park? I don't know. I'm really curious. There's also a Museo Civil de Zoologica. I wonder if it's like a statue or something of a giraffe. That just caught my eye. And then you have like the little horse head there. Oh, we were here earlier, Piazza di Siena. We were kind of wondering if maybe that was like a polo area, and it does have a horse head on it. And the horse head doesn't have like anything on the... So, something to do with horses. We decided to wander around the gardens a bit. Well, I don't know if I call them gardens, but look, there's a ducky. That is a different kind of duck than I've ever seen. Hello, ducky, and I'm sorry I don't have anything to give you. There's also a bunch of turtles running around. Well, swimming around. Turtle head's poking out. And oh, like the one sitting on the rocks over there. With their heads up. And then there's also like, we just ran into this, right? They're just walking around, picking pats. I like the people out on the boats. I wonder how much it costs to go on a boat. We'll go check it out around the way. I love getting on boats. Oh, I'm not even showing you the boats. Oh, look at the swans out there. How cool. So we got the boats and the swans and the turtles and this really cool duck. And I'm sorry, wish I had something for you, little ducky. More ducks over there. This is a really cool area. So Google Lens told me these are Muscovy ducks. There's a lot of different kinds of birds over here. And there's a pigeon right below me, but we've seen plenty of those. Oh, the gooses have made, or excuse me, the, wow. Okay, it's okay. We're not gonna hurt you. No, they're being bullies.
Very nice, yeah.
I thought it was a stereotype, but twice in like an hour I've heard people say Mamma Mia that we're Italians. Not like somebody here being a jerk. I didn't realize that was a thing. And that's cool, actually. One thing about Rome that's interesting is that you don't really have like big billboards anywhere. You might have a sign like this, or you know, that one over there that says Museum Leonardo da Vinci, like really little signs. Like there'll be a McDonald's one, it'll list some addresses where you can go to a McDonald's. But then there's this giant one over there on a scrim as they're redoing that building or something. I mean, that's the biggest one I think we've seen. But otherwise, we were commenting on how you don't really have a lot of billboards here that you do. The advertisements aren't as ubiquitous as they are in America. I forgot to film this as we had it, but we went back to, well, not back to the same one, but it was the Alice or Alice pizza, because we just enjoyed it so much on the food tour, and we really wanted that kind of crispy, crunchy pizza. We've had other pizza, but it hasn't been that crispy, crunchy that we wanted, and this is delicious. And we also got soupli with it as well. Seems like an appropriate meal for the last night in Rome. And that is going to do it for us from Italy, at least the first trip to Italy. Eventually we'll return, do some other cities.
We threw a coin in the fountain, we have to.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd make it back to Rome.
No, but Italy. Italy's got more to offer, for sure.
But I would go to Venice. I'd go to Milan.
Milan. Yeah, there's
Maybe
places.
Naples. That's not high on my list, but I'd go there.
And then again, like I've mentioned, there are other artists I'm interested in who are smaller, found elsewhere, not typical of Rome or even Florence. So there are others that I'd like to see too, around this entire country.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to do and go to, and it's actually pretty easy to get around. I mean, we only went up to Florence, but you can train up to Milan, you can take train up to Venice. We thought about doing Venice on this trip, but we really wanted to kind of stick to a couple of places so that we
did well.
didn't feel like we were rushed anywhere. And yeah, I think we kind of did everything we wanted to do. I mean, there's always more. You can always do more.
You go
But
back to New York and find new things.
I'm very pleased
a dozen times.
with what we accomplished.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this whole trip. See you in the next videos.
See you later.